Okay, so I'm going to be painting this little rural church. I'm not sure which country it's in, but I found this picture on Pexels online, so I just thought it was a nice little scene where we could emphasize a house. I've added in some figures and done some things to the house. I've taken out parts of the side of the house just to make it, just to simplify it a bit, but for the rest of it I've got most of the details in. So what I'm going to do to begin with is just get in a light wash, and for the sky I'm going to wet part of it. I want to get a kind of moody looking sky. So wet some of the paper, and especially coming down to the mountains and things like that here. In fact, the brush already has a little bit of paint on it, which makes it a bit easier. So I'm just grabbing some cerulean blue, drop that in to the sky like that. I'm thinking about just putting in some darker bits as well, like that. Let's have a look what else we can do. Just feather it across in some areas, and if we want to get specifically darker sections, we can do that too. So just having a bit of fun with the clouds, and more importantly, just trying to keep it quite light. And I want to leave just some little bits and pieces of the sky also showing through. That's a good idea for this painting, and getting in enough of this cerulean as well through the mix. I find that it's sort of granulating colour makes things look interesting. Okay, so just leave some kind of broken edges in the sky like that, and I'm going to pop in some little darker areas. Let's see if I can just grab this smaller calligraphy brush for a second and imply some looser cloud shapes. I think that other brush was a bit too big, struggling to get some of these sort of shapes here, like that. Maybe some little clouds, soften off this area as well, like that, and some of these clouds too. Like that. Good. And I'll just finish off this bottom part here. So this is just a bit of cerulean blue in this section. Okay. As we get down to these mountains, what I'm going to do is add in a bit of green, maybe a bit of sap green, so that I can get in some of these mountains in the background, but I don't want it to be too bright, so I'm going to dull it down as well. That, and yep, just cut around some of these trees here. And the house, that's probably the most important bit to leave. But again, we really just need to get in some light colors on the bottom of the house as well. Okay, so just getting in some little basic colours there. Oops, too much. Dull that down again a bit. And just having a look at the sky, how we are going. We'll just drop in a bit of this extra colour in here. And where is my spray bottle? Soften off that cloud shape a bit and keep this bit alive. That, and a little bit of cutting around this. Don't worry too much. Okay. A bit more green in here, and let's carry this one down the left hand side. Bit of green and neutral tint. You can actually add in a bit of blue to the green so it's not so bright. Some more neutral tint, which is essentially a cool grey colour. Okay. Great thing about this calligraphy brush is that it just allows me to cut around all these shapes quite easily, especially the house, church. Okay. Great. Do a bit of cutting around this figure too, as I get down to the bottom. Some more green in here, and more water to carry down this. And wet the sky a little bit again. I feel like I want to go back into parts of it. Okay, and just carrying this wash further down the page. Now right down the bottom here, it's all pretty green, and it's tempting to paint it all in the same color, but I'm going to be trying to get in some variations as well through here. We want to keep things interesting, so let's try a bit of yellow ochre. Okay, and a little bit of orange as well in there. And I'm going to encourage this to mix in with some of the green too, so it's not all just the same thing all the way through. And I want to have little bits of white on the paper showing through as well, stuff like that in the background. And I don't think I'm going to bother too much with the foreground, but things like that, which I might be able to turn into chickens or something later on. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take the opportunity now, since this edge is kind of dry, to just get in a bit of colour to the house. I'm picking up a burnt sienna for the roof, tiny bit of burnt sienna. Okay. And a bit of this neutral tint. And I'm going to get in a light wash like that. Just a bit of a background colour. Very light. It's all going to pretty much blend in. Same with this part too. And now, more importantly, I want to get in a kind of a warm colour for the base. So I'm picking up some cadmium yellow that I've got on the palette. It probably is too bright. I can see if I can add in teeny bit of this. I've got some buff titanium, some Daniel Smith buff titanium. I think that will do the trick. Just mix it down with some of that to get a creamier colour. Drop that in. Okay, that's looking good. Like that. And connect that on with that colour on top. Okay. Just a bit of this colour, join that all on, like that. Okay, and yeah, we've left that bottom for too long. I'm gonna go pick up some water, just re-wet this whole area quickly, and let's drop in some Sap Green at the front. You can dull that down as well with a bit of cobalt blue. That. Okay. Just darken that down a bit and let it do its thing. Important to just get it a little bit darker near the bottom. Okay, having a look at everything now. The sky, I still feel like I want to try getting in some soft clouds and some irregularities in there. So let's drop in a bit of paint like this. Get some larger cloud shapes in the picture, and these are kind of sharp cloud shapes too, in contrast to some of these softer ones next to it. Okay. Alright, I might leave that how it is. And this is just going to dry. I'll give it a dry actually with the hair dryer. And before I do, I'll just pick up a bit of this yellow I've forgotten to get in the top of this dome. So I'm going to get it in a brighter sort of yellow, like that. Okay, easy. Next step, what I want to do is start getting these mountains in the far backgrounds. So I'm going to be using this flat brush, sorry, this calligraphy brush to get in most of this detail. So I want to have some dry brush strokes on some areas too. And what I'm going to do is just use a bit of this blue. Don't know if I actually have any of it left. Doesn't look like it. I might just use the cerulean blue and a bit of this purplish colour here, which is actually Daniel Smith Moon Glow. So I'll mix this kind of cooler colour up here in the palette, and have enough water in there. I want it to be still translucent enough to show through, but to have enough separation from the sky. That's going to be pretty important for me. So okay, let's go ahead and give this a go. I'll start off around here. That looks about the right colour that I want, and this will be a soft, a sharp sort of edge for the mountains. And you know, just be deliberate with your brush strokes. That's important, and you know, leave little bits of white and things showing through, so that previous layer, and that's going to help imply some details and you know, bits of farmland and things like that in the distance. So don't colour the whole thing in. That's the big mistake, and you know, that's why we have all these different washes. You know, we want to make sure we show the full range of tones throughout the painting. So I'm now doing a bit of cutting around this house. Again, this is a bit tricky, and at the same time, you know, leaving a little bit of that previous wash showing through up here. What you can do as well is add in a tiny bit of this neutral tint in areas, especially as you come down to the bottom. But before I do that, I just want to get in this light wash of it over on this side too. I almost forgot last time. Okay. Really the trickiest bit is just cutting around the bits of house, things like that. Don't want to get any on that yellow as well. There we go. There. 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 Okay, and cut around this figure too. That. Okay. The mountains on the left hand side are actually a lot lighter. Just finish this off here first. Okay. I think I'll leave that how it is. just finish off this side quickly there, and leave some white in areas where you can. And in the far background, these mountains are actually a lot lighter. I'm just going to put in just some water through that mix to lighten it a bit. Okay, that should do the trick. So my next step here is I just want to bring out the house more towards the front of the painting. So, you know, I'm going to actually go with a cooler color on the house, just a bit of this purplish color. And I've got a flat brush here which I'm going to work with. And using the reference photo, I'm just looking at where I can find a bit of darkness, a bit of shadow that we can emphasize. So this side of the building here, just going to draw out that shadow like this. Something like that. And then we're going to go for this area here, that's also pretty dark there. You know, I can actually use the round brush to get in this section too. Just to imply a kind of darker area underneath here. Just cutting around that figure. These can just be little pillars, things like that, and a little kind of a shadow underneath the rooftops there, which we can get in. Quite dark. I'm using a dark neutral tint. You know, don't have to draw the whole thing in, but just a section of it like this does the trick. Okay, let's have a look at this side. So it kind of comes out here, goes across here like that, and some windows. So just a bit of detailing here for the windows, but I'm keeping in mind to just leave some of that previous yellow wash showing through as well. Bit of this sort of under section here of the don't know what it is, top part of the church, and little area at the top, like that. Okay. Great. Now another thing I want to do is just darken the actual rooftops. So I'm going to start out with a flat brush, a little flat brush to begin with, and pick up some of that burnt sienna. With the burnt sienna, I'm going to drop in a bit of this pyrrole red in the mix and a tiny bit of neutral tint. Darken it up more. Okay, and start here. And this is to help draw it out more to the front of the painting, because it's really looking a bit too light at the moment. Okay. And what I'm also doing is trying to let the brush skip parts of the paper too, to imply some texture on the roof. Making sure I'm having enough paint on there to just also, bring it forward. So just try to find that balance for yourself. I think that's good. Dry off the brush and we can just pop in a few odd strokes like that just to make it look a bit weathered. And this section here, this section on the right hand side of the building is also darker, so get in some of that. Okay. And a bit of dry brush for this section too. Here, I think I'm going to just make it a tiny bit darker. That. And the other side also a little bit darker too, like that. But leave part of it lighter just to, emphasize that feeling of light. Similar sort of deal with this one here as well, so let's just go in, and importantly I want to make this line of the side of this building a little bit more defined, like that, and there, and there we go. That's it. I can pick up a bit of dry brush. Oops, that's really too dark. Rub that off. Yeah, a bit of dry brush and just scratch a bit over of the roof, and just basically use the texture of the paper to imply some detail. I want to make a more obvious separation for this roof as well, like that. Okay. Bit of dry brush here too. Okay, and I want to add a shadow underneath these areas, so I'm just going to pick up a bit of tiny bit of blue, purple, and water that down a little bit, and just get in a line here, like that, across there, and here as well. Okay. I'll leave that for a bit. We'll go back into it later and have a play around. I now want to get in some trees and things like that. I've just been neglecting that for a while now. And the great thing about these trees is that we can make them significantly darker and again just make that house pop out more. Okay, so I'm going to be using this calligraphy brush for some of this work, and we'll use some sap green mixed with neutral tint, maybe a bit of blue as well to vary things up, and give it a try over here. So we know we've got a tree that sort of goes behind this building. And the great thing is that I can just swap in between the flat brush as well. So a bit of this sort of work behind the house in some areas like this, that's going to imply a bit of detail. That. So it goes over here, there's some trees here as well, little bushes or things like that here. Distant trees here, over this side. Yeah, bigger bush here. That. Okay. And we've got some trees here as well, which I'm going to get in. See, maybe one here next to this side of the house, and you use this as a bit of a tool to again bring out the house, make it come forward more. That bush here, and then there's also a tree that sort of just goes straight up and branches off into little sections too. And I'll just apply some light leaves, things like that. Connect up some branches here. Okay. Getting a few kind of fence posts here as well near the house. Teeny bit of shadow underneath. There is a bush here, actually, next to the this little side part. So I'll just apply that there, like that. Door in there, something like that. There we go. Bit more outlining for the windows. have a look over this side. Really need much. I'm going to get this guy's shirt in a very light colour because I like how it's kind of popping out at the moment. A bit of cerulean blue. So a light wash of that. This. And this other person might go with kind of purplish colour. Keep it light. I actually had a child sitting here around there as well, which yeah, we can pop that in. A child and his dog, which may be quite hard to see later, but I think we'll give it a try. Get the dog in. Some legs in on this figure. He's kind of walking forwards towards this other one. Like that. Okay. Now the other one here. Just kind of closer. And this light shadow underneath him. Where? This one as well. Okay, with colour for the head, a bit of red. Something like that. There's a bit more darkness to some of these shrubs in areas. Little dry brush strokes here in the foreground in places too. A bit of texture and maybe some little directional lines leading into the painting. Like that. his legs more. Same with this one, too light. Get a bit of hair on this person. This one as well. It almost looks like he's leaving home now. Okay. Try to get in some birds in the sky. Okay, and I might leave that as that.
Check out these tutorials down the side here. I've got a couple of playlists that will help you get some ideas and improve your watercolors.